So hello everybody and welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. It is at 3 p.m. Kenyan time. We're ready to feed the elephants on the baby formula, and I'm holding a bottle of milk for the baby elephants. We feed them on intervals of 3 hours a day and night, and so they know it's the feeding time. This bottle takes about 6 pints of milk, and we feed them about two bottles every 3 hours. And this milk is mixed with some porridge, which is made from oatmeal to make it a bit bulky for the big elephants, and plain milk for the tiny babies. And the tiny babies will get a more concentrated formula, and the bigger babies will get a little bit dilute formula with more porridge, because we want to encourage them on feeding on a lot of vegetation, since we want them to go back into the world. So it is a feeding time. The elephants are out inside the park, Nairobi National Park, browsing and feeding on different types of vegetation. By natural instinct, elephants know what to feed on. And when they're out in the world, they always learn this from feeding on the mother's dung. They always learn this by putting their trunk in the mother's mouth, and they get to know what the mother is feeding on. When they come in the nursery, we actually ensure that the little ones are attached to the big elephants, who will teach them what to do. At some point, we cut the branches and feed the elephants when they're still young, when they don't know how to use their trunk. An elephant will start to use their trunk at the age of about 8 months perfectly. Before that, they're just learning. They don't know what to do with it, wobbling it up and down, trying to get water, not able to do it properly. But after 8 months, they can do it. They can cut branches and put into the mouth. So that is why we have to be there to provide the care that the mother would have provided by ensuring that they have the milk. So this is what we feed them. It is not an elephant's milk, and this is because you cannot milk a wild elephant and get the real milk. Nobody has done that. At the same time, we cannot feed them on cow's milk, since cow's milk has got lots of fats, and elephants are poor in fat digestion. So if you feed them on cow's milk, they will diarrhea to death. And so we feed them on a human baby formula whose fats are been emulsified to make it easier for the babies to digest. And it took the founder of this place, the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, about 28 years to discover that this is the right formula for them. Before that, she used a lot of try and error method and lost most of the first orphans. Once she pioneered this formula, most orphans have survived and gone back into the world. And that's why it is believed to be close to the real mother's milk. Here comes the babies, ready for the milk. And we've got Mukoka right in front, being followed by Naleku. And they know it's a feeding time. That's why you saw them running in. And Mukoka always wants to be the first one to come in and get his bottle. And the good thing with him at the same time is, after he's finished his 2 bottles, he walks away. He doesn't want to bully the others like some of them will do. For example, Kiasa, after finishing her 2 bottles, she wants to bully the others and get extra bottle by force. But Mukoka, once he finishes his milk, he walks away and wants to play or feed on the greens. Mukoka is a 2-year-old elephant. He was rescued from northern part of Tsavo East National Park, a place called Idumba, closer to one of our reintroduction centers within Tsavo Conservation Area. He was about 7 months when he was identified by our aerial surveillance on patrol, who saw the baby all alone, who observed him for some time, hoping and expecting the mother or a herd of elephants to reappear closer to this baby. Nothing happened, which meant that he was an orphan. And nobody could tell exactly where he would have come from, how long distance, how long he had been all alone without the mother's milk. But because he was also very skinny and thin, it was obvious that he had stayed for quite some long time without the mother's milk and needed an urgent rescue, and that's why we rescued him at 7 months. Right now he's 2 years old. You can tell he's got folded ears. That is one of the marks. We can easily identify him, and this was caused by sunburn because he didn't have the mother. When they're still young, they always walk underneath the mother's belly or in the shade of the mother or the rest of the herd. But he did not have that, and that is why he had lots of sunburn. But after some time, the ears will come back to normal, and he stay like any other wild elephant out there, we expect him to be a very strong bull out in the wild, considering that he stayed for some time without milk and survived when we rescued him. Close to me now is the latest arrival we've got in the nursery, an elephant by the name Olorian, a very soft, polite, and gentle girl who only came in about a month ago, who was rescued from the Masai Mara, who was also identified alone within the park, who was observed for some time. Always, when a young elephant is found all alone, we just don't go run and pick them. We have to ensure that they don't have a mother. We have to ensure that the families are not around, and that is when we come in to help rescue them. So when actually Olorian was identified, she was observed for some time. She could go away and reappear from the bushes, and everybody expected when she's going back into the bush, maybe she's going back to the families or to the mother, and maybe she will reunite with a herd, something that never happened. And later on, she could be identified, she was identified in the company of an injured bull elephant, which meant that she was an orphan, because the bull elephant would not have provided milk, and this bull elephant was also injured. He could not have provided all the care that was needed to Olorian. So that is why a decision was made for his rescue, since if we could have continued to wait, expecting and hoping the mother to come back, her health was deteriorating, which means she could in the long run starve to death. At the same time, spending a night out in the wild all alone at this young age, the hyenas can easily attack them, and sometimes the lions. So that is why it was important that she was rescued. She's been with us for only a month now, and we are very happy with her improvement. Actually, she's progressing very well. She's gaining more strength, more weight, and she's becoming more active, more calm, and trying to interact more with the others. And you can tell from what she's doing now, comfortably playing with the dust, dusting herself. She knows how to use the trunk because she's already 15 months, and she wants to play with the soil at the same time. She's only 16 months at the moment. Far end after Olorian is an elephant by the name Ziwadi, who is about 2 years old, who was rescued also from the Masai Mara, who was identified all alone, suspected to have been abandoned or left behind by the rest of the family members for reasons we could not tell by then. But after some time in the nursery, we discovered that when she's joining the rest of the orphans, she doesn't want to keep following them. She either wants to go the opposite direction, sometimes she's left behind. And after a close observation, we also discovered that she's epileptic. Sometimes she goes into seizures. Once she collapses and goes on the ground, she's left behind. So we suspected that might have been the reason to why she was left behind by the rest of the family members. We put her on medication when she came in, and she's totally improved a lot. She's not had the seizures for a very long time, which means she's improving well. And we expect her to be back to normal by the time she'll be ready at 3 years to go to Savo and start the process of being reintroduced. Walking right behind me is an elephant by the name Naleku. And Naleku happens to be the youngest and the smallest in size. She's only a year old. She attained 1 year old on the 2nd of this month, July. She was rescued from the Masai Mara, and she's an elephant whose mother died from a natural disease. And she was left in the company of an auntie who was very close to this mother. But this auntie already had her own baby that was breastfeeding, and so this auntie could not breastfeed 2 babies. And this is because naturally out in the wild, a female elephant will not want to jeopardize the status of her own baby for the sake of another one. And so Naleku was in a proper company of the auntie and being provided with protection, but no milk. She was only 6 months, and at 6 months, they don't have strong teeth to browse on greens. An elephant will start to learn to feed on different types of vegetation after the age of about 8 months. And at 6 months, it meant that she entirely relied on the mother's milk, and there was no one to provide milk, so she could have starved and died within a very short period. So that is why there was need for her to be rescued, despite the fact that she was in the company of of an auntie trying to provide protection. Next to me now is Kiombo, who is over 2.5, almost 3 years. And Kiombo was rescued from the Masai Mara. He was identified alone within the park in the Mara, and he was below the age of a year old, which is not normal. Elephants will always stay in groups and families. The female elephants are very protective of the young ones, and so finding a young elephant all alone meant that something serious had happened to the mother. So that's why we had to come in and help rescue Kiombo, who is now almost 3 years old. Behind Kiombo is Maktau, his buddy, best friend. They like to play a lot and play the pushing game. Maktau was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Maktau, and Maktau was found in a community all alone while at the age of about 3 months. Being found in a community obviously suspects that the reasons for him being left alone involved human beings, and that's why we suspected he's a victim of human-wildlife conflict, because at 3 months he could not have survived out in the wild without the mother's milk. Right now he's 2.5 years, second oldest boy, and so far doing all right in the nursery. Next we've got an elephant by the name Kiasa. And Kiasa is a very, very famous name in our nursery. When you mention Kiasa, all the keepers and all the other elephants know who that is. She's an elephant who has 2 characters, very friendly in terms of taking care of the young ones and maternal, and at the same time, very naughty and very bully, and sometimes she just wants what she wants. When it is feeding time, she's a no-nonsense elephant. When she finishes her 2 bottles, and the others are still having the milk, she wants to get it by force from them. And that is one of the reasons to why she also comes the last in the group, to ensure that she's not fighting all the others who are still feeding. She's 3 years old now. She was rescued from Sava Conservation Area, and she's a drought victim. Her mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought. And this is because when we have longer periods of drought, like there's no rain and there's no water, so there's no food for animals. And that's why most of them will end up dying and the baby is left alone. And the mother will die fast because the little food that the mother finds is what she eats, and the baby relies on suckling from the mother, and the mother does not have food, and the baby keeps on suckling, and that's why to some extent the mother dies and the baby left behind. So that is why Kiasa was left as an orphan. She's now 3 years old. We expect her to be a big matriarch when she's fully grown and has gone out in the world. But I bet she'll be a very tough mother. And the young ones that will be under her care will have to have a lot of discipline by themselves, other than waiting for her to discipline them. Next to me is Naboolu, and Naboolu is about 3 years old. Naboolu was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified alone within the park while at the age of about a year old, and she was very thin and very weak and very skinny, a sign that she had also stayed for a very long time without the mother's milk, and also at 1 year old. They don't feed on enough vegetation to survive. They always get the mother's milk and supplement it a little bit with little vegetation. So that is why she could not have survived in the world without the mother's milk at the age of a year old. And that's the main reason to why she had to be rescued, because she looked to be very thin and very skinny, and she could not have made it all alone out there. She's the second oldest in the nursery, which means the second in command after Maisha, who is the oldest female in the nursery at the moment. All the 12 elephants have finished having the milk, and I can tell they want to go and play in the water next. It has been very cold the whole season, but today a little bit of some sun has come out, and that is why they are feeling the warmth around, and that's why you can see them all moving close to the water. They might be interested in playing in the water or not. We just have to wait and see. We've got Rojo here who is running away from the water, and Rojo is an elephant who is about 17 months old. Rojo was rescued from Tsavo West National Park. The mother is suspected to have been killed by poachers, and that's why he was left alone. He was about 7 months, the one lying down trying to roll or enjoy the dust bath. And we've got Kiasa close, we've got Naleku close, and Maisha joining Rojo as well. Maisha is the oldest in the nursery at over 3 years. She's the main matriarch. She's the mother figure, the leader of all the others. And this is something that happens naturally by natural instinct. We don't talk to them, we don't train them, and they don't vote. Actually, they communicate. Elephants have their own languages. They know who is older, and they communicate and will want to respect the oldest female just naturally out there. So that is why Maisha took over after Tagwa and Tamioi left the nursery to go to Tsavo and so the process of being reintroduced. Naboolu close to me on my right at almost 2 years old, having been rescued from the Masai Mara. The mother believed to have died from a natural disease as well, and that's why Naboolu was left as an orphan. Laro at the far end of the background, and Laro was rescued from the Masai Mara Olaro Conservancy, identified alone and believed to have been separated from her family by human beings, and so she's a victim of human-wildlife conflict. That makes a total of 12 elephants in the nursery, all under our care for the first 3 years, before we take them to Tsavo East National Park and Kibwezi Forest, where we reintroduce them back into the wild. They get to join different groups of wild elephants. We've got our keepers that will monitor them out in Tsavo, trying to set them free so that they can communicate and interact and play and make friends with different wild families. And this is something that is done on a daily basis. Every evening the elephants spend a night in our big stockades, and every morning they go out to spend the day with the wild families. Some wild elephants will invite them, and so they spend the day together. Some wild elephants will reject them, others will ignore them, others will charge them. Every day has different reactions because they tend to meet different wild families. But after a long period, some specific wild herds get interested in our orphans, and they always come close to the stockades to wait for them. They always want to be joined by orphans, and those are the wild herds that will eventually invite them in the families. Those are the wild herds that will take them as part of their family members. And when that happens, we set them free and let them become wild, because the wild elephants will train them, will protect them, will warn them against human beings, since wild elephants have known that human beings are a threat to them. They have seen what has happened to part of their families out there, and that's why they'll warn our orphans. And when any of these orphans join the wild families, then they will behave like any other wild elephant out there. And when we see that happen, we can successfully say we've achieved our target, because the main target here is to rescue them, since they were found orphans, hand-read them, and later on are reintroducing them back into the wild. That process of reintroducing them alone takes a minimum of about 5 years. Some will go up to about 6, 7, 8, or even 9 years before they get adopted. I don't know, you might have realized something when Rojo was on the ground complaining. Kiasa and Maisha came in running very fast. When they heard Rojo's noise, they came in very fast to find out what was happening with Rojo. That is how a mother behaves. That is how a matriarch leads or protects all the young ones. And that is how we get to learn who a matriarch is from the way they respond when the young ones are complaining or have an issue, and all the matriarchs will always want to surround the little ones. So Kiasa right behind, and Maisha in front, very close to Rojo, who is lying down on the ground. I can see also Naboolu close, but Naboolu is just having fun. Most of the boys are always not interested in taking care of the little ones. It is always the females. Although we've had some few cases of boys in the nursery who have been very close to taking care of the little ones. For example, Mukoka in the beginning was very close to Naleku at some point, and Rojo at some point, and so we could tell they are good boys. But that is mostly the role of the girls out in the world. So if you're joining us now, welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. And this is a center that takes care of orphan baby elephants and rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. 12 elephants in the nursery at the moment, all orphans, orphaned from different parts of the country and with different reasons for being orphans. Some of the mothers have been killed by poachers due to trade in ivory. Some have been separated from their families by human beings, what we call human-wildlife conflict. And very few, the mothers have died from natural reasons like old age, natural diseases, and starvation back into the world. And all this happening to the mothers when the babies are still very young, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk, and also without protection. That's why we have to come in and ensure that we give them a second chance to survive back into the world. Otherwise, without them being rescued, without them being identified, all that you can see here now would have died, which means the population of elephants in our country will be going down every now and then. And by rescuing them, we are increasing the population every now and then. With the little sun that came out, everybody is interested in enjoying with the water and the mud. So if you're joining us now, welcome. And the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust does not only take care of orphan baby elephants and rhinos and setting them free back into the wild. We also have some projects that we undertake. For example, we have got mobile veterinary units. You can see Naleku rolling down in the dust after getting the mud. The whole body feels itchy, and that's why she wants to roll in the mud. Rojo joining her. They too like to play the pushing game around. That is what Rojo is starting now. And mounting game for the boys, they like to do that. Rojo, I can see he wants to do that as well. So we've got other projects like anti-poaching teams. We've got the mobile veterinary units. We've got the community projects. We've got the aerial surveillance, the dog unit, and all these other projects. And all this is done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe out in the parks. For example, our anti-poaching teams will patrol with the Kenya Wildlife Service rangers to ensure that there are no snares in the parks, there are no poachers in the parks, and there are no people burning charcoal in the parks. Our community project will go around the communities that are neighboring the parks and the reserves, educating them on how to stay peacefully, enabling one another with these wild animals, so that they know what to do in case the animals get into their farms or into their communities. The same community project will go around the schools that are neighboring the parks and the reserves, educating the children. When they're still young, the young kids need to learn that all animals are important, and all animals need to be cared for and protected. All animals have the right to life, just like you and me. Come on, Kyombo. Kyombo is trying not to be friendly. And so when the children are taught this when they're still young, they will be able to keep it in the mind. They will be able to help protect and care for all animals in future. And when they have the knowledge, they know how to use it. When they don't have the knowledge, then it becomes a problem because they don't know how important these animals are. And our community project will also educate them on why they are important and how they are important to them when they're still in school as well. So all this is done together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that the parks are safe for all wild animals, and all wild animals are safe and protected out there. If there is any injured animal within the park, our mobile veterinary unit will go out in the park to go and treat them. with the Kenya Wildlife Service sponsored vets, sponsored by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. They will go to the scene, treat any injured animal, and set them free to continue with their own natural life. If the injured animals are at an area where the cars cannot access, we've got a sky vet that will fly to the scene, help treat the injured animals, and immediately set them free to continue with their own natural life. Not only elephants, not only rhinos, any other animal that is found out there with any health issues, our teams will go and treat them and set them free to continue with their own natural life. Everybody is enjoying. Olorian at the far end, enjoying the dust bath. And Kiombo on the other side also enjoying the dust bath. Ziwade is always feeding throughout continuously. Something funny with Ziwade is that she's got one type of plant that she prefers most. And when she's out in the park with the others, she'll always go around to look for this type of plant. It is from the current family of leaves, which is most readily available within Nairobi National Park. And even during the dry season, you'll always find it. And that is what he loves most, compared to the others who will feed on a variety. But for her, she always wants this one type. If not, then she's feeding on grass. So you might be interested in supporting the work that is done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, and you are invited, welcome. You can easily go on our website and find out how you can donate. You can donate towards adopting an elephant, which is costing a minimum fee of $50 a year. When you adopt an elephant, we will open an account for you and we'll be updating your account every month, letting you know all that is happening in the nursery. You'll also get a watercolor painting which is done by Angela Sheldrick. We'll also update you on the Keeper's Diary, which is written every day by the keepers, telling different stories from different orphans. And all that will be brought to your account on monthly basis online. You can adopt an elephant for yourself, or you can do it as a gift to a friend. And if you do it as a gift, it is a gift recipient that will receive the updates every month. But if you do it for yourself, it's you that will receive the updates every month. You can also donate towards buying a bottle of milk for these elephants. You can also donate towards the other projects that are done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, like the anti-poaching teams, the community project, the aerial surveillance, and all that will ensure that all animals are safe from wherever they are. So I'd like to take this opportunity and thank you all for joining us at this particular session at the 3 p.m. milk feeding time. The elephants will be walking away anytime now to go out in the bush to continue with the rest of the day until at 5 in the evening when they come back for bed. We are right inside Nairobi National Park, and they have the right to walk around and decide on what they want to feed on, play if they want, and have a nap if they want. Some of them will do that to some extent, especially those that are still young. So they are set free in the park so that they can learn by natural instinct on what to do. And when they are set free out in the world after 3 years, they already know what to do, and they will behave easily among the wild elephants out there. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I want to believe you've enjoyed what we've brought before you, and we shall continue to take care of the baby elephants. Remember to continue staying safe.